Hi, everyone. Welcome to eLearnChat, where talk, it's knowledge. And we've got a great talker today. We've got Shannon Tipton on from learningrebels.com. And with us is of course, Emma Peel of eLearning. This is Leslie Price. How are you, Leslie?
I'm good. And it's lovely to have my friend Shannon here with us tonight.
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad you guys know each other. Well, here we go. Let's run our intro and then we go. Oh, we had a small word from our sponsor, too. Forgot about that. We are back. Shannon, it's been a while since the last time we talked with you. I believe it was last year when you were heading to China, and you obviously came back.
Yes, I came back, yes. It was a great time out there. I was in Beijing, and it was very interesting.
Did you like it? Enjoyed it?
Oh, it was great fun. It really was. The people were so nice, and the food is always so good. So you can't go wrong with that. It was a great experience. And I had a chance to do a little sightseeing, too. So,
oh, good.
You know, bonus.
So what's new in your life right now?
What's new? Oh my gosh, there's so many things. Right now I've been working a lot in the micro-learning world. Mm-hmm. So I've been running around doing micro-learning workshops and helping organizations deconstruct some of their macro content and turning it into micro-learning content. And that's just been a bonus. It's just been great fun doing that with all the different types of organizations out there.
And it's funny because everybody's talking about micro-learning, and for some odd reason, in traditional e-learning development, they've got these humongous Godzilla courses that are just horrible. And the students say, "We hate it. It's too long, and there's no breaks." And what do? More of the same. So finally, we're hearing more and more people saying, "Break it into little chunks," and I'm glad because you're just killing the poor learners.
We've actually been saying that. I've been saying that for over 20 years.
Yep.
And what's interesting is Shannon and I first met, I was telling you earlier, Shannon and I first met when she actually worked for Rent-A-Pill Initial. So that was when Shannon and I met. And then she moved on and she became an e-learning rebel. And what I'd be interested to know, Shannon, is why did you become a rebel, and what is being a rebel about?
Why did I become a rebel? I think I've always been a rebel, Leslie. I think that you can attest to that. I've always thought about learning in a different way than a lot of other learning practitioners did, at least back in the day. And I was always the one going, why do we have to build these giant courses? Why are we doing this way? There's got to be a better way. That always seemed to be my mantra when I was going into organizations was, there has got to be a better way. And so subsequently then I became the one that was always, shaking the trees, trying to find that better way. And then it just kind of evolved. So it evolved into the business that I have today. And it's the same thing. So there's nothing like putting your vision statement directly in your business name. So people come to Learning Rebels and they don't expect the same stuff. They expect me to do something different for them. And that's what I try to do. And subsequently then that's where, all of the micro-learning stuff has really taken off, is because I, as one would expect, I kind of have a different perspective on what microlearning should be. And it's not necessarily about small bursts, although small bursts are an important part of it. It's about what you're doing with those small bursts, And so I'm asking organizations to really look at their content and look at it from a very different perspective. And so I think that is and was what makes me a rebel, and is always going to make me a rebel, I hope. So, but, for the most part, it's just a great adventure. being able to take a look at what's out there and what's happening in businesses today.
But it's interesting, Shannon, that you mentioned the word business, because one of the things I do know about you is that you've always, certainly since I've met you, you've always had an understanding of the importance of learning, connecting with what the business objectives are. Always. And that was one of the things I remember that we talked about when we first ever met. That, learning, connecting with the business and the business strategy was really important. And it's interesting now when I'm saying what makes a learning rebel, you're actually also still mentioning what's good for the business.
Well, you have to, don't you? I get a little frustrated when I talk to audiences nowadays, and I ask them how many people have read their annual reports, how many people, know their business P&L, how many people know where the future of their business is going, and you see, only a few hands being raised. And if you don't understand your business and you don't understand where it's going, then how can you possibly understand its pain points? How can you be a business partner if you don't understand the business, right, outside the four walls of your office? And so that is the main driver that I have always had, which is how can I help the organizational leadership sleep better at night? So that means then I have to understand their problems from their point of view, not my point of view. My point of view doesn't mean squat. So what is their point of view about what's keeping them awake at night, and how can I help them solve that? And I think that's what makes us all business partners, right?
Well, those are some very good points, because that's the exact antithesis of most e-learning departments all over the place. They have no business background, they don't learn it, and then they don't understand why on earth do they get laid off with marketing first.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a sad...
Where, from when I've ever first met Shannon, one of our first conversations was all about how important it was that learning people were able to talk the language of business beyond the language of learning. So, and I've mentioned this to you before, Rick, learning people also have to be translators. And Shannon is actually one of the best translators that I know. She understands IT, she understands learning, and she understands the language of business.
Yeah.
Oh, aren't you nice? Thank you for that.
It's true though, Shannon. You can explain how you do it.
I think it's just so important. It's so critically important. When Rick mentions the fact that L&D gets laid off along with marketing, and it's usually, L&D first. And a lot of that is our own fault. I have a very slim margin for sympathy in this area, because in a lot of organizations, sure, there are those organizations which truly do not care, and those are not the organizations I wish to associate myself with. Outside of that, there are the learning people who have a certain expectation that businesses should know their value, and that is a faulty foundation, that's going to crumble at its best, because it is our job to ensure that our value is out there. And if we communicate it, if we talk about it, if we make it ever present, then that connects with real results. So you can't go out, like marketing sometimes, you can't go out and, bluster about. You really have to show those results. So how are you doing that? And then concurrently working that into a communication plan, so that way everybody knows the value that you're having to your organization, and talking about that in business terms, that you're helping to lower productivity or to increase revenue or to mitigate risk or to, avoid some sort of cost. And once you start talking in that particular language, then people respect you. You have credibility within the business. And I think that is one of the things that would help, learning and development departments everywhere when it comes to establishing their foothold, if you will, in the business.
And I think that's what actually makes you a learning rebel, Shannon.
I think so, because I think that I'm not going to look at this from a traditional learning perspective where I'm talking about the organization has to understand that a training needs analysis is important. No, that's crap. The organization doesn't have to know anything. Our job is to help communicate that and to help them have their own epiphany to realize that, an analysis of their business problems can then be resolved.
And that's an interesting point. I think in our business we've done one big one needs analysis in 22 years. One.
Wow.
Nobody cares. They already had it done because these are business units. They know what they need. They just want somebody to help them get there. And and like you, I've come from the IT world. We spent 20-something years in IT. And in the learning side, it's a little bit different. IT pretty much has the pipes that run a company and the software sometimes. Learning doesn't always know where its role is, and I think that's been one of the big problems. They want to have more power than they have, and that probably comes from being part of HR many, many times, which I think is the wrong place to put them.
I agree.
They should be in operational groups, because then they have...
Frontline.
Yeah, they should be frontline operational groups where they have their finger on the pulse of where the money's going, where the services are going, and unfortunately, that doesn't happen that often. More often than not, it's part of HR, it's part of compliance, and they wind up in a strange place where it's very hard to really provide a service to the company because the company may not see the value in that service.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also important that the learning people, as technology is changing and the way that we're talking tonight on eLearnChat, I think it's also very important that learning people can actually speak on a one-to-one basis and understand the changes that are happening in technology. Because very often it's the IT people that you need to help you deliver things at point of need. As opposed to being a barrier, you need them on your side.
Well, you also need to be able to communicate with IT, which can be difficult. And if you don't talk their language, they don't give a damn about yours.
Exactly.
That's so true, so true. And I always used to say, it doesn't hurt to take IT out for a pizza every once in a while, because...
Oh, she knows IT, pizza.
Or a beer, depending on what sort of organization you're in. But, it's their department is the same as any other department. Nobody likes having people knocking at their door when they only have a problem. And a lot of times that's when we are knocking on IT's doors because something's broken or something's gone wrong or someone needs help. Nobody's just there to go, hey, how's your day going? What sort of pain points are you having? How can I help you? And if you take them out and treat them like they're human, then you know what? They may be in your corner come the time when you need them to be in your corner.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting because...
110% agree with you. So rather than sending emails, I used to floor walk. I used to go down, I used to meet the IT team, and although it's a long time since I've worked in the organisation I worked in Vector, if I look at my friends on Facebook, so many of them were actually members of the admin team because the admin team made things happen. So many are friends of the IT team because they made
But I'm going to tell you something, and it's not sexist, this is just reality. You're both attractive. When you go to IT, they go, ooh, and they pay attention. Remember that. That's part of it. Don't think IT guys they're geeks. They don't know a lot of people.
A lot of the IT people I dealt with were also women.
Oh, okay, that's different. Get out.
They might have liked you, Rick.
Sometimes.
There you go.
That's funny. No, but it's true. You deal with people, and the more you know, and also the same complaint goes to IT. I've been in the IT world for a long time as a programmer, a systems analyst. I was a VP of IT in a couple of companies. And it's up to the IT people to also go up to the operational people and say, what do you need?
Right.
And they don't do it either half the time. So,
No,
IT
they
has
don't.
a service issue, and learning has a service issue, and they're not hard issues to overcome. And also, a lot of times, people hire people in the learning world that are educators or come from more of an educational background that is not business oriented, and then they go, how come they don't get our business? They don't get any business. Right. That's just another issue.
No, it's not their job. Their passion is learning, as far as they're concerned.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Their passion is learning, and the difference between, even when I was working in community education, vocational colleges, one of the things I used to focus on with my students was, you are going to be going into the world of work. So let's get you ready, guys. This is not just about learning. This is getting you ready for the world of work. And I think you also then have to do that too with people who work in learning, that if they're in the workplace learning, they're actually improving. So it's not just organizational performance, it's also individual performance. It's performance of that individual and how they then contribute to the business performance. And then that, because it's their business performance that they then get recognized for, that's what gets them the promotion.
Yeah. So Shannon, what other things have you been up to besides the micro-learning? And also, what's your experience been with micro-learning?
Oh, well, my experiences have been really good. Like I said, I've been running around the country at conferences, doing workshops and all sorts of things, about it. And people want to know more. My message is that, first off, microlearning has been around for longer than 2017.
Right.
And so my role here is to break out some common misperceptions about microlearning. One is that the most common misperception is that it's about chunking, and it's not. Microlearning is not chunking, and microlearning doesn't always have to be video. It's not video. So that's the two main misconceptions that I'm finding as I travel across the country. And so what I've been doing is working on a framework that microlearning fits within, because it's not ADDIE, and it's not SAM. It's not any of those traditional instructional design models. It's something that's more akin to root cause analysis and solving the problem. So my message is that, first off, microlearning is just in time, not just in case. And so it's a matter of just getting it done. So a lot of times we're not looking for perfection. Even if you are shooting a video, it's not the perfect video. It's just getting a video out there that will help somebody. It's getting that job aid out there that will help someone, or the screencast or what have you. So it's been a really interesting journey in this microlearning area that I've really been nose to the grindstone with this for the last year and a half. And ATD has actually commissioned me to write a book about it. So I've been in the middle of doing that too. So it's been really interesting, and the technology surrounding it. So even though microlearning doesn't have to be technology based, the technology around what you can do is incredible. There are just so many things that are right at our literal fingertips when you think about things like Adobe Spark, things that are right there that you can create a just-in-time learning aid for people and send it out to the masses, and boom, you're done. Yeah. And you're helping people.
It doesn't have to be a course, does it, Shannon?
No, it's not a course. No, it's not a course. It could be short content bits that will augment a macro program, but it's not here's what I tell people. You're not going to micro learn anyone. Okay, so get the notion out of your head. You're not learning anyone. You're helping them do a job to the best of their abilities. That's what you're doing. And so now, how can we get there from here? That's the conversation.
It actually almost sounded like a punishment. I'm going to micro-learn you.
Right? I know. That's how a lot of our courses are, right? We're going to plunk you down and we're going to e-learn you now.
The other thing to ask, Rick, is that Shannon is actually going to be speaking at one of Europe's top e-learning conference, learning technology conferences again.
Yay! Yes, so I'm going to be
Shannon is coming to London, where 8,000 people attend this event. It is one of the top conferences in Europe. So what is your topic going to be, Shannon?
Microlearning.
Yay.
Microlearning. Oh, fantastic.
Yep. And we're going to be doing some fun things. As when I was talking to Don about this, I told him, I said, we really only spend about, he's given me a generous 70 minutes, which is more than I normally get. And we usually spend about the first 35 minutes or so talking about microlearning framework and why we should be moving more in this direction. And then I spend the next 20 minutes of them actually developing something really quick and on the fly, just to make the point that even if we're here within this conference setting, you can create something. And most of the times the minds are just blown because they're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I had no idea. It's like, yes, you can. And we're going to.
So this is what you're going to be planning to do. I say, Rick, this conference, people actually come from all over the world to attend. Mm-hmm. Shannon's been before, but people come from all over the world to attend this event. Patty Shank is also going to be coming over. David Kelly is coming over. So Will Fallhammer's coming over. So we've got a real big American contingent.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Oh, we should be scared.
I'm just interested to hear what Shannon's going to be sharing with us.
All these Yanks converging on the UK.
We can cope. The Yanks are coming.
The Yanks are coming. The Yanks are coming. But it'll be interesting. And so, like I said, this is where my life has been the last year. I actually will be. I spoke at ICE last year about it. I spoke at TK about it, ATD TK, and I'll be speaking at ICE again next year. And I've just gone through and done some a smaller bit conferences. So like the Professional Technology Trainers Association, I was just there and did a full workshop for them, and we did an all-day workshop, and that was really cool and fun, So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this can go. And what I tell people is in the beginning of my session is that there's still a lot of diverging opinions about microlearning. I mean, for goodness sake, we can't even decide how to spell it, right? Is it one word? Is it two words? Is it hyphenated? So you got all of that. And when you can't even make up your minds in regards to the simplest of things like spelling, much less nomenclature, then, there's some work to do. But I hope that people leave my sessions or after they speak to me that I've added a little bit more clarity around the topic.
And no pun intended there either on the little bit, right?
Right. Content, it will be curated.
No pun intended.
So other people will actually be able to, there will be a video of your session, and also what you're doing will be curated, so it will be able to be distributed. So it won't just be people who are at the conference who will be able to learn from your session about microlearning.
Right. Yep, absolutely. Just like the last time. The last time I was at Learning Technologies, I spoke about how to market your training department. And that was a big hit too. People were talking to me in the hallways afterwards about that one. So that was a hot topic.
So you're going to be talking about how you market microlearning then too?
Well, I don't know if I'll be talking about how to market it specifically, but I will certainly give them some tools to go back and talk to their businesses about. When you look at some of the figures out there right now, where Bernsen by Deloitte tells us that 2 out of 3 people don't have time to do their day jobs. So when 2 out of 3 people don't have time to do their day jobs, what does that mean for training?
Yeah.
Right? So that means that they don't have time to do training either, or have training done to them either, you know. So how can we then help people? That's what it becomes.
Either that or the third person's having a darn good time.
And they aren't inviting us.
They're not inviting us.
Right.
So, maybe going away. It's always 5 o'clock somewhere. Rick.
That's right.
That's right. It's always 5 o'clock somewhere. and the other statistic that really shouts out to me is that people are spending upwards to 41% of their day just looking up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they're looking up stuff presumably to help them do something, whether it's their jobs or not, but they're looking up stuff to help them do something. Okay, so there's that. Now you couple that with the fact that in North America we spend upwards to $160 billion, that's with a B, on learning and development, on learning as a whole. So organizations are spending $160 billion on training. Only 15% of people are making use of that training. 15%. That's it. Okay, so what is happening? So that means that we've got these big, huge, bloated courses, be they e-learning or instructor-led or virtual, that aren't helping people do what they need to do. So now it's really time to take a look at giving people tools to help them do their jobs. And sure, there's always going to be a time and a place for some of the bigger type of courses, but those could still be put into a blended model augmented by micro-learning objects that make them more palatable to the workplace.
You know, I have this fear. It's sort of funny. I've talked with several people about micro-learning. And my fear is once it gets into the hands of, let's say, HR or compliance, they'll say, we totally believe in micro-learning. And in fact, we've created the last 2,000 modules of micro-learning into your your curriculum. So enjoy it. And yes, they're only 5-minute micro-learning tidbits, but oh my gosh, you got to go through 2,000 of them. They'll find a way. You know that, don't you?
Yep.
They will find a way.
One of the people you need to talk to or connect with, Shannon, I don't know if you are already, is somebody called Nick Shackleton-Jones. Have you come across Nick?
I know the name.
Nick Shackleton-Jones used to work for BBC before he took over from Nigel Payne. So Nick
okay.
Nick worked for BBC, then he went to work for BP, and now he's working for PA Consulting. And I was at an event on Tuesday where he was talking about resources rather than courses. And he went through the whole thing about what you're talking about with micro-learning. So I'm sure you would actually have a really interesting conversation with Nick. It'd be worthwhile connecting with him because he thinks exactly the same way as you.
Oh, yay. I love that.
I'm sure it would be a very interesting conversation between the two of you.
I'm sure. And I've been having interesting conversations about this topic everywhere, and I think I'm always a little flummoxed by the idea of training folks who seem to be entrenched in the idea of if it's not a course, then how are people learning? How are people getting the information? Secondarily to that is the first question I normally get, or one of the first questions I normally get out of this is, how do I track it? And I just kind of want to roll my eye so far back I can see behind me sometimes. And I'm like, really? That's your question? How do you track it?
But in reality, not tracking it. They just want to be able to check it off.
Exactly.
Yep.
And in some cases, that's not necessarily bad when you start talking about microlearning, because I would want a mechanism that would tell me whether or not people are actually using the tool. So in that case, it might be just clicks. You know, are they clicking on the video, or are they clicking on the screencast or whatever? Or typical SEO type of measurements, downloads, things like that. Yeah. But really, that's all you need. I mean, really, seriously, good God, somebody asked me the other day, can I put a quiz after it? No, no, you cannot.
But maybe one of the things that, and this is something else that came up in the conference I was at on Tuesday, was if you're going to do a bit of micro-learning, for example, or even stuff in your learning management system that is around health and safety, what impact is the learning or the micro-learning or anything having on the health and safety aspects? Has it actually reduced anything?
Now you want to tie it back.
The business impact.
Right. And that's
our
where
management systems don't measure things like that.
No, and in some cases, when we think about microlearning, that's not exactly the realm in which to think. What we want to think about is what's going wrong. Why aren't people doing X, Y, Z? So if you say that we want salespeople to add more people to the funnel, so we want microlearning to help them do that. Okay, so first off, the question is, why aren't they doing it now? Right? So if they're supposed to be doing it, why aren't they doing it now? So what sort of gap are we trying to address with that? Okay, so now if I put this performance support tool, this microlearning tool in place, you should immediately be able to see that gap be addressed.
Our systems, the learning people system, so the learning management system, which the learning professional relies on very often, doesn't show that information.
That's true. Well, you know, with that, we'll leave that one as a question to be answered. And you know what? We'll leave that as a question to be answered for another show. But we're at the end of our time for this show. And Shannon, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on and talk. And we got to have you on more often. You're always fun to have on. And Leslie, as always, Leslie's great. She's fun to work with.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to be in December, Leslie, I'm going to be at the ATD European Summit there in Amsterdam.
Okay.
Yeah, so it might be interesting to do a little video or something while I'm out there and send it over to you, Rick.
That sounds good. Yeah, do that. Do that, and we'll highlight you. Yep.
We'll certainly be doing videos. I know that the folks at Closer Still, I know the organisers, so not just Dawn, but I actually know the organisers of Learning Technologies, so I know there will be a video, so we can maybe organise, interview, whatever, as well, that we can add as an add-on to this.
Yeah, send us the content. We'll love to put it on, play it, and have a good time with it.
Yeah. Yay!
Sounds good. Well, Shannon, again, a pleasure to have you on. Leslie, as always. And for all you folks watching, subscribe, give us ideas, tell us you like it or not, and we'll keep going. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next week on eLearnChat.
Bye.
Cheers.